You should really look up a picture of Blake Bortles' girlfriend. She's smoking hot.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the NFL Offseason Podcast. I'm your host Louis Deeby, and I'm filled with a room full of a hero, Dave Kress. What up, Dave?
Hey, boss. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Let's talk about today. We're going to get into the NFL draft as free agency, most of the big signings have already occurred. So we're going to talk about the entire time we're going to be talking about the top quarterbacks in this year's NFL draft, which most say is far better than last year's, which only had one quarterback in the first round. This year there's a full of different prospects and mock drafts that you're seeing going from first overall all the way down to number 26 of the Cleveland Browns. So let's get into it. Let's talk some quarterbacks, Dave. We're not going to list them all since there's a good amount, but let's give your top quarterback in this year's NFL draft.
My top quarterback in the draft this year is definitely Johnny Manziel. The thing about Manziel is he's not a sure thing. He's either a hit or miss in my opinion. But if he is a hit, then you're gonna see him being there for a long time. And in my opinion, he's the most one of the most explosive and dangerous players in this draft.
I like Johnny Manziel, but I think Teddy Bridgewater is the best quarterback.
Ugh.
And I think don't yuck this.
It's gross.
He's the most NFL ready quarterback out of all, and I don't like how people are just saying that and that's it, and they're not giving him any talk about the highest upside. I think Teddy Bridgewater could be just like an Aaron Rodgers, where he uses his legs to really just get open more for the pass. He's a huge armed pocket passer that has underrated mobility, but he extend plays that resembles Aaron Rodgers. He runs to get the pass open, but his arm, he's good at he's good at reading too. He's the best out of anyone in this draft at reading coverages, and he just shows all the good signs of an NFL ready quarterback, and he's tough. Some people say his size is a concern, but look at the hit he took in the Fiesta Bowl last year against Florida, where he took a huge look from Sharif Floyd, and he got right back up. So he's tough, and he's got clutch gene too. Yes, Blake Bortles did win that game against Teddy Bridgewater, but Teddy Bridgewater drove down the field to take a 3-point lead with a minute left. So I like Bridgewater as my number one quarterback.
And then who drove down the field to
Blake Bortles.
Exactly, he's
but was
better.
Teddy Bridgewater on the field in defense? No, he was not.
He didn't get the job done.
He did not, but... No.
You
can't
he
put
did
that
not.
on him. He
I
did get
can
the
put
job
that
done.
on
He
him.
drove down with a minute left. He did what he was supposed to do.
Oh, if
How
he was
can you
so
put what
good.
the defense does on the quarterback?
He was so good, he would have ran the clock out, and then threw a touchdown.
Well, they didn't know that they didn't necessarily know that they were going to score.
Yeah, I know. Bridgewater had nothing to do with that. But
Okay.
Bortles is still better.
So you then have, I want to assume Blake Bortles is your number two?
Oh, yeah. Blake Bortles is so good, in my opinion. And I think he has way more potential than Teddy Bridgewater. Because like you said, I don't know if you said this exactly, but Teddy Bridgewater does everything good, but nothing great. I don't think he really has a high ceiling. Unlike Blake Bortles, he's got underrated mobility, although he's got big size and a big arm. He reminds me of Ben Roethlisberger of the Steelers.
Yeah, a lot of people are comparing him to Ben Roethlisberger. I have Blake Bortles as my number 3 quarterback because at number 2 I have Johnny Manziel, and like you said before, he could be he has the highest ceiling in my opinion as well. He is undersized. He came just under 6 foot. But what he doesn't make up for in size, he makes up for in speed and athleticism, which people now want in quarterbacks. I know there's still obviously the basic pocket passers in the NFL, but the new age, I guess you can say, is the mobile quarterback, and not necessarily running read option and running almost all the time like Vic did in Atlanta and Cam Newton his first year at Carolina, but the ability to extend plays with your feet is something that everybody likes, and Manziel was probably the best I've ever seen at doing that in college. All of college I've ever seen, even though I haven't seen enough to have a broad, wide opinion on that. But just looking at all the mobile guys, I think he has just as good of a chance as Russell Wilson does, only he comes with a little more luggage with the off-season problems. They're not really problems, they're just he gets into a lot of things in the off-season. I think that was more of the NCAA just being a corrupt business where they don't let him get paid off of his own name and autograph. So I wouldn't look into that if I were a team trying to draft Manziel. And if I'm Jacksonville at number 3, if Houston doesn't take him, I'm snagging him up immediately. And if I'm Minnesota or if I'm Cleveland, even though Cleveland's been reported to not really like Johnny Manziel as much as their old regime in the front office did, I'd be moving up to number 2 to try to get this kid if Houston doesn't get him. But Houston, to me, is going to take Blake Bortles. I just have this feeling.
Oh yeah.
Matt Schaub's a Raider now, so
Can't say that you blame him.
no.
But they got Ryan Fitzpatrick. So.
Yeah, I'm not saying Blake Bortles is a bad quarterback. I like him. I'm just a bit more skeptical with him. He makes a lot of plays, but he takes a lot of risks, and he does resemble Roethlisberger with his size and arm strength. And he's got a bigger arm than Roethlisberger does. And like you said when we were talking about the Louisville USCF game, he's got a major clutch gene. I think he has higher upside than what Ben Roethlisberger did coming into the NFL. And to me, I think Blake Bortles fits Bill O'Brien's offense the most. And I don't know if you agree, but I don't think Clowney's. I think it's Blake Bortles. I just think with Matt Schaub going to Oakland, I think everything's pointing towards them getting a quarterback.
No, I agree, and I have no problem with people putting Blake Bortles ahead of Johnny Manziel either.
Yeah. Well, yeah, me too. If I were starting a franchise, I would go with Manziel, but it's a very close. And even with Bridgewater, it's kind of like, for me, if I had to put someone at the top, it would be Bridgewater. But it's almost like a 1A, 1B, and 1C type thing, where these players have all tremendous upside and are far better than the quarterbacks in last year's draft. I think personally.
Yeah, but why does everyone put Derek Carr outside of those top?
Yeah.
Because Carr, a lot of teams like Carr better than everyone else. And maybe it's because they like how he plays and then they know they can get him at a later pick. But teams seem to like Carr better than some of these top 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah, I've been seeing at least like 2 to 3 teams that like Carr better than Manziel, including Cleveland and Oakland.
Which are 2 big teams that need quarterbacks.
Right. Derek Carr is pretty much, I feel like a couple teams are going to do it where they don't take a quarterback in the top 5 because they think they can get Carr. But there's more than one team thinking that. So if Cleveland wants him at 26, he might not be there at 26 because what if Oakland trades up? Say Philadelphia trades out of that pick. Say they don't see a defensive player they want there. Then Oakland gets him. So you might want to be careful with where you're picking. I think Carr's a little bit lower upside-wise. He is a basic pocket passer, but that's by no stretch why he's lower. I just saw a little more inconsistency with him, maybe forcing more passes, and he had a bad end to the season against USC in that bowl game where he threw a couple tough ones. So, but Carr is
he did good in the Senior
highly
Bowl.
touted. No, he did. Yeah, so he made up for it. And he also ran a fast 40 for what I thought. So he has underrated mobility too.
Definitely. You know who has overrated mobility?
Who?
Teddy Bridgewater.
No. Overrated. Stop trashing Teddy Bridgewater.
I don't like him that much because. I mean, he had a whopping of 49 rushing yards last year.
Right.
So, I mean, I could get that in one game. I could.
49 in one game?
Yeah.
Is it when you're right now
Yeah.
on the pad? Oh, God. No.
I could get it in a season.
Okay, maybe in a season. I don't think he was. That offense was a pro-style offense that was not requiring him to run the football at all.
Okay,
and
but
when you
49
did look
yards.
on film, Yeah, I watch film.
He's scared.
I saw
like
a
him.
lot
I
of
don't like him
him
at all.
being conservative with his running. He was not going to take big hits, and he was extending the plays with his legs. Now,
Yeah.
yes, 49 yards, if you want a mobile quarterback, might not be there, but the talent is the skill, the ability to run is there.
You want to know how many rushing touchdowns?
How many?
Big 0.
That's not. It's a quarterback.
Exactly. You know how many Manziel had in his freshman year?
What?
21 rushing
Okay,
touchdowns.
see, that's just absurd, and that will never happen in the NFL. That's just him being a college player.
He averages more rushing yards in one game than Bridgewater averages in one season.
Ugh.
Probably his whole career.
Oh yeah, for sure, probably. But I don't think you can base that. You can't base a quarterback's ceiling based off of mobility. or
Okay,
else
that
you're
even
not
shows.
gonna succeed at all.
Yeah.
Derek Carr, I think, I don't know. I think he's definitely. I think he's gonna be a first-round pick. If I were Arizona, I would be looking at him. I'm just saying. After a while, Carson Palmer. If that team has good quarterback play, with a franchise quarterback, it could be a Super Bowl contender. But I think Carson Palmer's holding them back. Who is your guy after the big four? I guess you can say that is going to be the next pick and probably have the most success going into the NFL.
My next guy after the big four is the core four.
Yeah, the core four. I like that. Yeah, the core four.
It's Jimmy Garoppolo. When people started getting into the draft and stuff, Garoppolo's low.
Yeah.
Not coming out of a big college. He's coming out of I don't know. Do you know where
Eastern
he's?
Illinois.
Yeah, something weird.
Something like. Yeah, Eastern Illinois.
Is that in the MAC? No, that's not in
No.
the MAC. Michigan's in the MAC.
It's a low Division One school.
Yeah, something like that. You know what's in the MAC? Everything from Michigan is in the MAC, except for the good Michigans. Central Michigan, Northern Michigan, Western Michigan, Eastern Michigan,
But not
Southern
Michigan
Michigan.
State and Michigan.
But anyway,
Guess I'll tell you who's not in the MAC.
who?
Mizzou.
Oh yeah, Mizzou.
SEC. Let's go.
Oh yeah, Mizzou. How they doing in the NIT?
I don't want to talk about it.
How do they lose?
I don't know. Yes,
Okay.
they lost, Dave. Obviously, I know. I was joking.
But yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo has been shooting up the boards. He lit up the Senior Bowl, probably its second best quarterback performer in there, behind Derek Carr, and he had a good combine. And didn't he play in the East West Shrine game?
He
Shrine
did.
Game, yeah. So I like what I saw out of Garoppolo. So if you can go out and get him in the second round, I'd have no problem with that.
I like Garoppolo, but I like AJ McCarron a little bit better. I think he's more of a sure thing. And I obviously think if you're going upside, it's Garoppolo. But McCarron, everyone forgets, he was not just some game manager. I hear a lot of people resembling him to Alex Smith. Alex Smith has been a good quarterback in the NFL, and AJ McCarron was by no means a game manager in Alabama. If everyone forgets, week 2, he outscored. It was not the defense that beat Johnny Manziel in that game. In a 40-point shootout, each team had over 40 points, and A.J. McCarron had over 300 yards passing in that game and 3 touchdowns. He's a steady quarterback. He's a steady QB looking for a team that needs a solid backup or fill-in quarterback this year in the second round, I think. And no, not even fill-in. I think if you want, he can potentially be a franchise quarterback for a team that's waiting.
Yeah. Yeah, AJ McCarron, he's my 6th guy. But yeah, I mean, but does he even have a high ceiling?
AJ McCarron,
He fills that game manager type of role.
he does.
So honestly, if you put him even in with like the Texans, obviously not first overall, but like say they got him in the second round and got Clowney first overall,
Oh yeah,
they could be a playoff team
right. But
with AJ McCarron.
I don't think they need Clowney though to be a playoff team. I think
don't
if
know,
they just get
Clowney and
I think all they
JJ
need is a
Watt.
quarterback. Okay, yeah, but they do have Whitney Merciless still, who's a developing outside linebacker too, and there are people are saying that Clowney doesn't even fit Romeo Crennel's defense. So,
Yeah.
but I like McCarron. But I like Jimmy Garoppolo as well. I have him as my 6th rated quarterback. He reminds me of Tony Romo, where he's just like
A good quarterback on a bad team.
yeah. It was low competition. He threw 53 touchdowns and only 9 interceptions. So the ratio there is incredible. He's got a quick release. He's a very fast player. But again, the competition is a concern. I don't know. I think if he gets I don't know. I think I'm kind of confused with Garoppolo because the skill level you're saying with a defensive player like Khalil Mack does not matter to you, but then because he's a quarterback, it does. I think Garoppolo, honestly, if I'm Cleveland or if I'm Minnesota and I don't want to take, or Oakland, I'm taking Garoppolo based on a ceiling level. But I kind of concerned with him because McCarron did this in the SEC. He performed just as well, if not a little bit less, in the best conference in college football. But I don't know. I'm kind of confused with him. I honestly don't know where he's gonna go. I don't think he fits in Cleveland. I think Cleveland needs a guy like Derek Carr, a pure pocket passer that's just going to distribute. But I don't know. That's what I think on Garoppolo. I think he's an interesting prospect, though, for sure.
Yeah, all right. My 7th, I guess this will be our last guy to give. I think we both have the same guy. Do you have Taj Boyd there?
I do.
Out of Clemson, yeah. I feel like he was more highly thought of during the season.
Yeah.
And he kind of died down a little bit, but he kind of reminds me of Braxton Miller, who was smart and decided to stay another year. But yeah, I don't know how far he's gonna go. I think if you're trying to pick up a backup, Taj Boyd's the way to go.
I like Taj Boyd, and I agree 100% with what you said about him being more touted during the season. Week 1 against Georgia, watching that game on a Saturday night, I remember going on Twitter and a bunch of fans from many teams were talking about him being a first-round prospect, including draft analysts like Matt Miller of Bleacher Report saying how he was going to be one of the top quarterback prospects, and then he took a little bit of a dip.
Are you calling out Matt Miller?
I am. You got a problem with that? He's from Bleacher Report.
Ooh, okay.
Everything he says is 100% false. Last year, he totally upped Geno Smith, and he totally crapped all over E.J. Manuel. And he said that there was no way that E.J. Manuel was going to be a first-round pick. And he was wrong. And this year now, I already see him trashing Johnny Manziel, and I guarantee you he's going to be wrong. 100% wrong. So, he's not listening to this, but if he did, I'm better than you. But back to my Taj Boyd thing, I like him. He's a mobile quarterback, but he has some accuracy issues that if I'm a team, I am concerned with. I see him being a third-round pick, fourth-round pick, developmental player. I was really pulling for him to go to the Eagles this offseason since they didn't have a backup, but it's looking like they're going to be signing Mark Sanchez. So it doesn't look like he'll be going there. But I'm thinking like Arizona, maybe it's time, maybe draft him in the later rounds. I think Boyd's an interesting prospect, but he's definitely got the most work out of all of the quarterbacks that we listed so far.
Yeah. And
then there's guys like, I mean, then it drops. There's Mettenberger, who people are saying again could be a diamond in the rough. He had a torn ACL, so it really hurt his stock. But he's again a very tall quarterback.
How do you feel about Aaron Murray?
Aaron Murray, people are saying last year would have been the best quarterback in the draft because of how good of a season he had. He had a dip this year. He got hurt. I don't know. I think he's a. I heard yesterday, Bill Polian of ESPN. I don't know how. I mean, I respect his opinion, saying he could be a second-round pick. I don't know. I think he's more of a fourth, fifth-round pick. I think he's going to take a dip because of that injury, and he did struggle a little bit. But I've already heard interest from the Bengals saying that they like Aaron Murray.
How about this? Who's the best Murray? DeMarco Murray, Aaron Murray.
Aaron Murray's not in this. No.
Andy Murray. Out of those three, who's the best?
Wait, Andy Murray? Is he a tennis player?
Yes.
That is. No, Andy Murray is the best.
Really? If you could be in one of those situations, you'd be a tennis player?
I could be. No. Yes. Andy Murray.
Mike, you wouldn't want to be a tennis. You wouldn't want to be a cowboy.
That's right. Eagle for life. But no. Well, yes. If I could play in the NFL, the one team I would choose not to play for is the Dallas Cowboys.
What about the Jaguars?
I love the Jacksonville Jaguars. I would love to play in Jacksonville.
Jaguars fan.
No, I'm not a Jaguars fan. We're not doing this. I'm not saying I like the Jaguars. I'm saying that I wouldn't mind playing for them. I think they get a bad reputation for not being interested in their team. When I think maybe they do have fans. Every team that's bad doesn't fill the entire stadium all the time.
Bills have tons of fans.
Yeah, but you also see like Ralph Wilson buying the extra.
You're leaving. Go.
Really
Go. I'm serious.
You're closing the show.
You're just come back. He died yesterday, you jerk. All right, well.
Bye.
I cannot believe you just did that.
It was an accident.
I can't believe you just did that.
I have respect. You're calling me out here.
All right, well, thank you for joining us here on the NFL Offseason Podcast. I am your humble host, Dave Krause, and be sure not to follow